By the way, I found out who around here is the thief.
There's more to that story than you know. Simon's got involved. Kaplan squealed like a pig. That woman Shannon's got a surprise waiting for her in the morning. Very convenient for us. Take what you need. Load up. You've still got to break out of HQ.
Splendid. You did our dirty work for us.
Figured he was your type. A real hard ass.
On the contrary, he was somewhat too careful and urbane for that position. I'm going to have to step in myself and restore discipline.
Well, since that makes you my new boss, take a long look at Manderley's dead body. Consider that my resignation. I don't have time to write a letter.
You can't run, Denton. Even if you escape, your kill switch is counting down. You'll be dead in 23 hours. Another $50 billion down the drain.
We'll see about that.
Hello everyone, this is Bobbin Threadbare, and welcome back to Deus Ex.
I blew it, JC. I'm sorry. MJ-12 must want you bad. Locked on the chopper and had the nav computer fly straight in. Last doors are shut, my weapons are locked. Weapon lock switch is on flight control deck 1. Get me back online or we're dead meat.
So you might have seen the hatch earlier, which was practically begging for us to jump down it. But actually, you don't really have to. The entire flight deck here is clear. No one to encounter whatsoever. Still, it's a good way of getting around, so we're going to head inside anyways. Got a few different stops down the way here. It's also quite a long walk when you're crouching. First one, this one goes into the bathroom downstairs. Barracks being downstairs, you see. But we're not going to go down that way. That's the messy way. Instead we're going into the munitions bay here. Which fortunately happens to have some WP rockets just waiting for us. Regular rockets too, but we don't need those. Once again, got another knife to drop. Got more recoil to dampen on our fancy new shotgun. Also, it looks like we just got a maintenance code of some sort. Perhaps that'll come in handy. For that door, you may recognize I looked at it before. That goes back up to the flight deck.
Careful down there. That fueling equipment was installed by the lowest bidder. One time I had to fly a couple of gas technicians to the emergency room.
So there's a keypad back there that's just begging for me to punch the buttons. And we got the code for it in the munitions bay, but first we're going to have a look down this way. There's not too much to do here because we're actually not going to go inside the barracks area, which is where all of these doors lead to. But we can go up here. This leads somewhere else. In fact, there's a hole up here, and if I had level 4 super speed... See, this isn't quite enough, but if I had level 4 super speed and then a couple of crates, which you can get from downstairs, then it's actually possible to skip the whole rigmarole here and just jump straight up into the one room that you need to be in order to leave this entire map. Also, we've got a couple of bots here that are going to become a problem, but only if you don't sneak in through the ventilation system and deal with them ahead of time. It's very nice that they allow you to do something like that.
Sergeant, is that you?
It's not your sergeant, but don't worry, you won't have to worry about me. Not now, and perhaps not ever again. Yeah, we're not going to evacuate diddly squat.
You just released poison gas into the lower levels. Find a hazmat suit or get out of there.
Just needed to clear out the one gas cloud there. That's the one that we have to worry about being up here, but thankfully it doesn't continue much past that. We didn't even take any actual damage. And that's the hazmat suit that would be useful if we perhaps didn't have the toxic resist. And this would happen to be the other bot, which could prove to be troublesome. But no longer, because I mean, it doesn't say disabled. I mean, it's really damn harmed, but it needed to say disabled. Oh, hell. I think that was farther away, but as long as it did some damage. Yep, there we go. Disabled. So yeah, while the downstairs is being flushed with gas, I figure it's a good time to come upstairs and take a look at the flight control operations here. Looks like this one raises the pad. That one opens the munition bay door there, and also a button that would disable the weapons lock if there was anything with weapons on that particular pad. Now we can just hack the camera system. Looks like there's a couple guys up on the roof. Let's have a better look at them dying horribly as the turret kills them. There's really very little call to using the camera controls, but it's pretty neat when it comes up. Oh yes, and secret panel. Rather not use explosives in such confined quarters. But it's only 2 picks, and hey, it's an investment. It's an investment because that's the locker's key for downstairs. And also the login code for the security system, just in case we didn't have hacking. So over here, this is the door we need to get through. But it's locked, it's infinite, so we need to find a key, because I don't have quite enough jumping ability to get up there otherwise. Looks like the gas is cleared now. However, I figured, might as well head up to the roof first, since we know both guys up here are dead. I guess there's a third pad up here that doesn't descend into the bay. Ooh, swords. Wonder why they got so many swords. But, just note, the prod is my best melee weapon, does 7 damage. Baton, sorry, I don't need the prod anymore. But now I've got a sword. It takes up 3 spaces, but it does 10 damage instead of 7. Best of all, it can destroy crates in a single blow, making it a lot easier to destroy them come the future. So we got this one last hatch down into the barracks here.
Sergeant, is that you?
There's a lot of ways down here, in fact. You can just see the walls lined with ventilation ducts. So where's the one guy who survived? Well, never mind, he's dead now too. Yeah, the gas really got these guys this time. It's usually a toss-up exactly how many of them happen to die, because they all got sort of patrol routes. I got pretty lucky this time. Now, I don't think this computer has anything on it. Nope. But I just wanted to check. So now it's time to raid the lockers. Medkits, always useful. Happen to use quite a lot of them, actually, but... well, actually, not that useful. I got regeneration now. This is where that first tunnel, that first exit from the ventilation system, that's where this comes out. Oh, we made the newspaper. How nice. Actually, it's kind of remarkable that they got this whole combination locker room, bathroom, shower stalls. Seems like they're really set up for a long time without any outside contact in here. Meanwhile, you can see here just how much of an investment that one locker key was. And this is actually pretty interesting. 989, that's the code to get back into this helibase once we've left. I believe that's it for down here. Got another sword in case you didn't happen to visit the roof, I suppose. And I'm just going to take a quick trip back into the ventilation ducts, because you may recall I did use 2 lockpicks, and I also found one. This one. And just for the record, the 2 crates that you would need to jump up into the room, those were down there. And in any case, one of the lockers happened to hold the key we need. And so here we are. And by the way, the security panel in here covers the same cameras as the other one.
Back in business. Come on down and stay clear of the blast doors to the south. I'm gonna launch a missile.
Well, that's gonna be fun.
Fire in the hole. I have to get clear. Head for the exit and I'll link up with you when I can.
So the alarm went off, and this is the point where the bots would have become a problem. Luckily, I dealt with it while they were still... Well, they're not actually inactive. If you jump in front of them, they will start to go after you, but certainly vulnerable. 30 tools to get past this little section here, but just a little speed, and I didn't even get hit by it. Well, that's it for the helipad. It's actually pretty short, shorter than I remember. And so, just for the record, I went back and got my riot prod. Turns out I will still have a few uses for it. Welcome to Wan Chai.
Okay, you need to find Tracer Tom. He used to drop Paul off at a small compound east of the market. You could start there. Don't lose any time. Your kill switch is 12 hours old.
If you die, our plans will fail. Locate Tracer Tom.
Indisputably the best running around music in the entire game right here. Now, I've got to be careful. I seem to recall having been caught coming in here before. Rather, that didn't happen. So, Wan Chai is actually a real place in Hong Kong, a real district. It's towards the west side of the island, in the middle of the developed northern part. Also, very stealthy, hidden door behind the secret area. Got our lockpick back. Get a code for the police substation. And we get our multi-tool back too. So, anyhow, Wan Chai Market is also a real place, a real indoor market in Hong Kong. It moved its premises in 2008, but it's still not held beneath a skyscraper like it is in the game.
Go away.
I'm just looking.
Many fine restaurants buy their meats from me. Have you visited the Lucky Money, for instance? It's below the market in the mall. The truck have stopped delivering to the other shops because of military blockades, but all of my meat is guaranteed fresh.
Gotta love the Chinese accents around here.
I've been warned about you. I'm just looking. Watch where you're going. Watch where you're going. Take a hike.
Goth's just got no respect.
Hand-painted China, very authentic. do you like? I accept international electronic currency. Hand-painted china, very authentic.
Nothing to do here in the china shop.
Shopkeepers are honest. You will find a good bargain here. Notify me of any problems. Large unbuttoned coat pockets. Not advisable. Keep your wallet in your front pocket. Large unbuttoned coat pockets. Not advisable.
Now, that's actually some pretty decent advice, considering the number of pickpockets that would likely be around here if the game could support that sort of thing.
Do you want to do business in Wan Chai?
We already have an arrangement with the Luminous Path.
Do you want to do business in Wan Chai?
I will not be threatened.
Don't think your Luminous Path can protect you.
Get out now!
As you wish, but don't be surprised if you don't pass your next inspection.
I know people on the health board. They can't be bought.
Perhaps, but they're just like rats.
Oh my god, they are everywhere.
We will be patient while we clean up the mess.
You can't be serious.
We would offend my nephew if we were to leave so soon.
Maybe I can do him a favor and help get rid of the rat problem here. You can't actually move rat corpses, but by stepping on them, they do die.
Welcome to the Wan Chai Tea House. Anything you like, 12 credits.
Never mind.
Please, we're having a discussion.
We had the Jiaozi. Very good.
Disgusting.
May I recommend Yunjin, most precious tea of China.
The police are worthless.
I must beg your pardon. We were talking.
The Red Arrow has no fear.
May I recommend Yunjin, most precious tea of China.
Nothing here but the push cart.
It's a small matter to discuss.
Explain.
A disturbance in the tea house. Can you overlook?
100.
No injuries, only a prank.
100.
I have 55.
100.
65.
Okay, 65.
Mind your own business.
I do not recognize you.
Stay out of my way.
I cannot make a deal with strangers.
Are you looking for trouble?
Please do not interfere in my business.
I work for the butcher too. Everybody in Wan Chai Market.
I have made other arrangements.
I never fall asleep. I am one of the best watchmen.
Run along. I don't work with the boys.
This is a bad market. Lots of bad people.
Go.
Go away. I can tell them you're a spy and they will kill you.
Nice kid. Huh. District map. That'll help. Looks like the whole place is sort of set up like an H. The canals on either side and in the middle. And you saw one of those. They were next to that couple in the tea house.
Rules of Triad Wars. Red Arrow versus Luminous Path.
What do you think of the Luminous Path Triad?
Cowards, soon to be gone. They have to steal weapons because they have lost the traditional arts.
What kind of weapons?
They murdered the Red Arrow leader to get the sword he invented.
How do you invent a sword?
It uses modern technology. I made the Red Arrow even though the Luminous Path compound is 50 meters away. Many publications. What's your interest?
What do you think of the Red Arrow Triad?
They will control all of Wan Chai in a few weeks.
You sound certain.
The fighting is not going well for the Luminous Path. Maggie Chow exclusive interview in the Oriental Daily News.
Have you heard of Maggie Chow?
A former actress, well respected. She gives a lot of money to fight drug trafficking and illegal trade. Please put the newspaper back when you are done browsing. The Red Arrow is doing a good job cleaning up this market. Pleased to meet you. I must make time for all the customers.
Not touch. Screw you. 2.
Yes, a little something to brighten up the lab.
VersaLife?
How can you tell? Is my hair turning blue?
VersaLife has done much to revitalize the community.
Well, they're always hiring. I guess that's something.
I will wrap them up.
No, I can manage.
Very good. Thank you. Please, look around.
Such a quaint little market. I just love Mrs. Hain. Excuse me, I'm trying to shop. Excuse me, I'm trying to shop.
Perhaps a present for your girlfriend? Only 20 credits for that one. A lovely bouquet of orchids, symbolizing grace and integrity. A lovely bouquet of orchids, symbolizing grace and integrity.
Doesn't look like there's anything worth getting at just to open this grating.
I saw you watching. Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. And that kid's there by the compound.
We're next to the compound Paul used to visit, but I don't know who it belongs to. I think I'm clear now. Good thing the NSA invested in stealth technology.
She said no.
Impossible.
She said she has made other arrangements.
The Red Arrow?
She was very rude.
You know what to do.
Yes, sir.
Don't waste any time.
My brother's name is Paul Denton. I heard that he was a frequent visitor to this compound. Do you know him?
The Romanos path is closed to Guilos.
Paul is no friend of the West.
My name is Gordon Quick. I know your brother, but you are not him. They say you are loyal to Unatco.
I was, before Paul showed up in New York. A day later, I was helping the NSF.
You want me to take your word? You are in Hong Kong now, and we are businessmen. Paul earned our trust by working with us.
I don't have time for games.
No games. We would like another ally like Paul. The Triads are at war, thanks to a woman named Maggie Chow. A sword was stolen from the Red Arrow Triad, and Miss Chow started the war by blaming us, the Romanus Path.
Why is one sword so important?
It is an extraordinary sword called the Dragon's Tooth. Nanotechnology developed by the Red Arrows from Merida before he was murdered. We know that Chow is a liar, but we have no proof.
I'll go speak to her, but first I need to find a man called Tracer Tong. I need his help.
Mr. Tong deals with businessmen, not beggars or strangers who might be spies. Chow lives at 1313 Tonochi Road. Be observant. Find and examine that sword. It is the evidence we need.
I'll help you against Miss Chow, but then I'll need to see Tong, or I won't be your ally for more than about 12 hours.
The former Red Arrow Reader stole nanotech components from VersaLife. I believe it was the corporation that had him murdered. The Dragon's Tooth is the most perfect blade possible in a non-eutactic solid. It would have given the Red Arrow an enormous advantage. All contests between the Triads are decided with the ancient art of fighting. The structure of the blade was maintained by a coating of nanoscale wetting devices. Very sharp. We have begun work on our own sword, but progress is slow. I find it suspicious that Maggie Chow came to power precisely when the former Red Arrow Reader was murdered. The sword has killed more men as an argument than it ever did as a weapon. Keep your word. Go to Maggie Chow. Find out the truth.
Guy's got an impressive six-pack, I'll give him that. So there are actually a lot of ways to Tenochi Road.
唔該借過。 嗰間廟係廣昌道。你識唔識講廣東話？唔該借過。
I have no idea what he's saying. Anyway, there are a lot of ways to Tenochi Road. Basically, the way this whole area is laid out is that the market, which we are in, is on one side of an H, drawn by the canals. Misty Temple, bunch of doves. This place is a John Woo shootout just waiting to happen. Anyway, Tenochi Road is on the other side of the H, and so is the Lucky Money Club for that matter. Now from here... Oh, right.
I know the Dragon Head!
Yeah, that's nice, kid.
All travelers should keep informed of current events.
So, my thought is I want to go visit the police substation. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And while I could use the doors, since I know the passcode, 911, I figure instead I'll go in through the roof.
The market will close in 2 hours.
Because I can.
Please go about your business. Purchase a guidebook if you're lost. There is fighting in the Canal Road tunnel. Be advised. Stay in the market and you will be safe. The triads are at war. We are working to resolve the difficulty.
But of course the thing is that the police officers who are inside the substation here are hostile as soon as you spot them. And even beyond the gunfire sensors, people make a lot of noise when they see an enemy or they die. And there's that guy on the roof that's going to be a problem. I don't want to bring the entire police force down on my head. And so that's where the riot prod comes in handy. Plus, they are police officers, and I am the one doing something illegal. I mean, no matter how much money they take from the triads, it's still very rude to kill a peace officer just for doing his job. So, you know, just to avoid getting everybody's attention, especially those bots on either side of the station, I decided to go for a instant takedown, non-lethal approach. No real reason to be in here, mind you, but there will be later. So these are cameras that don't actually react to us, but looks like we can open a door from here. There's also that patch in the floor, but the panel it's attached to is... Oh, it opened that door. But yeah, infinite panel, so there's no way we're getting down there right now. You know what? There might be something behind the counter. I want to at least look in here, but I still don't want to spend 3 picks on it, so I'm going to cheat. This is another one of those glitches. If you happen to start a lockpick or a multi-tool use, and then hit the inventory button, and wait for a while, for however long it would take for the bar to go down, bam! 1 use down, completely unlocked. I'm not going to abuse this very often, but in cases like this, where it would take a hell of a lot to get not that much, for some reason I can't actually get through this. Yeah, there's some invisible wall there. There's no way to get through that, unfortunately. I even no-clipped and there's nothing back there. But, next time, on to the lucky money. Welcome to the People's Republic of China. Given the change in venue, I figured that today's Conspiracy Corner should focus on the elephant, or rather the bear and the dragon in the room, communism. The format's going to be a little different this time. The history of communism and rich white oligarchs is surprisingly intertwined, so I figured I'd cover both the regular and the conspiratorial histories side by side. The early years. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels did not invent communism. In fact, some would trace the origins of the philosophy back to the Carbonari, the charcoal burners. Charcoal was important as a fuel source for steel forging. And since it was made in the forests but used in the cities, the Carbonari wound up being very similar to the Freemasons, an international guild free to travel and communicate ideas during the Age of Enlightenment. Or so they would have you believe. In reality, the mostly Italian Carbonari were just another secret society formed during the upswing of liberal idealism during the late 18th and early 19th centuries. The society was patterned off the Freemasons of Britain, hence naming themselves after an old guild, but they really have more in common with the Bavarian Illuminati, including the short lifespan. They were most likely formed during Napoleon's occupation of Italy at the turn of the century, but by 1831 they had all but disappeared. They had managed to agitate for constitutional government in both north and south parts of Italy, which wasn't one nation at the time, but ultimately they were crushed by the same monarchist forces that defeated Napoleon. Still, their legacy lives on, if only as something for conspiracy theorists to point to as forerunners to modern secret societies. Actually, Karl Marx joined several clubs over the years, some secret, others not. This would include the Radical Poets Club in Bonn, the Doctors Club in Berlin, which study the works of philosopher G.W. Hegel, the League of the Just in Brussels, the Society of German Expats in Western Europe, and then the First International in London, which sparked the first wave of global communist thought. And if you are wondering why there were so many secret societies to join, just remember that at the time, saying the kind of things that Marx did publicly could get you deported, jailed, or hanged for sedition in most of Europe. Hence a need for secrecy when discussing such things. It should be noted, though, that despite the history associated with his name today, Marx was very much on the side of using negotiated compromises and political leverage to bring about the workers' revolution, rather than the violent uprisings that others, including the Bolsheviks of Russia, would wind up using. Speaking of which, the Russian Civil War had some surprisingly deep American ties. Leon Trotsky, the George Hamilton of the Bolsheviks, was living in New York City when the October Revolution began, and it just so happens that the revolution was helped along with some pretty substantial donations from Wall Street bankers. I didn't find anything that necessarily ties the two facts together, but Jacob Schiff, a friend of the Rothschilds, reportedly donated $20 million of his own money to the Bolsheviks. His reasoning is actually pretty straightforward. Schiff was a leading member of America's Jewish community and particularly hated the famously anti-Semitic Tsars of Russia. He had previously donated money to the Japanese 10 years before, allowing them to absolutely humiliate Russia in the Russo-Japanese War. Nevertheless, and especially because Jewish bankers are firmly entrenched in most conspiracy maps, the theory goes that because American bankers funded the October Revolution, that means they somehow maintained control over it. Because people given financial aid have never been ungrateful afterwards, and relations between the United States and the Soviet Union didn't just happen to deteriorate because we refused to give them post-revolution loans when they wanted to sit out the rest of World War I, and a paranoid butcher took over 6 years later. That and establishment paranoia in America, which turned into the first Red Scare thanks to native labor unrest and the anti-sedition crackdowns that followed our entry into World War I. The Cold War. I have no idea why anyone would think that one cabal of intellectuals orchestrated the almost entirely pointless Cold War, except that it must be comforting to think that there were good reasons for all the petty squabbling, and we never really came close to wiping out civilization over a dick-waving contest. The one good thing I can say about it is that the competition got us to the moon faster than we probably would have reached it otherwise. Oh, unless that was fake too, of course. But this being the most recent era of history, there's naturally a lot of theories about collusion between the upper levels of the Soviet Union and the United States. Some of it is real, like the partitioning of Europe and Korea after World War II, but then there's stuff like what I mentioned in the United Nations corner, where events happened to line up that let the US use the UN against North Korea and then China. Somehow, this is evidence that both sides were getting their marching orders from the same source, despite how we would have fought the war ourselves, as we would later in Vietnam and Iraq. As far as the Cold War's end, explanations are pretty sparse as to why the USSR fell, considering how tightly controlled it was supposed to be, but the theory after the collapse is that the Gulf War happened because America still needed a common enemy to distract its citizens away from the puppet masters. With the Russians winding down, Arabs and Muslims were apparently the next best choice, something I'm sure they felt was confirmed when 9/11 happened, and never mind that 10-year gap in between. I imagine there are some out there right now who say that Russia winding back up over Ukraine is no coincidence, considering the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are finally ending, but the weird thing is that I can't find much about how China's become a real contender over the last couple decades. I suppose a big part of the reason I found so little about China's involvement in the New World Order is because my research is based around American conspiracies. The PRC was a part of the Comintern before falling out with the USSR, and I guess that's enough to get them lumped in as puppets of Moscow and the UN. I do have a few interesting notes about the Triads, though. It seems they are one of those mysterious organizations which Freemasons have, in the past, claimed as being connected, despite how they probably formed out of failed rebellions, like most organized crime rings. Either the White Lotus Society or the Boxers. By the way, the two big triads to watch out for in Hong Kong are the Sun Yee-on and 14K, rather than the Luminous Path and the Red Arrow. Tong, as in Tracer Tong, that has a meaning too. It's a word that was used to label Chinese crime organizations in America. Most of the Tongs that survive today have cleaned up their act, though, and are now the legitimate social clubs which they were meant to be in the first place. Personal thoughts. The real failing of communism, or at least of Bolshevism, is that the shape of a government has more to do with a nation's economy than whatever economic theory that government claims to follow. It all comes down to two basic points. First, monopolies. A state-run monopoly where the state is unaccountable to its citizens will crush competition, stifle innovation, and feed the guys at the top at the expense of the workers and the customers. In contrast, an unregulated private monopoly will crush competition, stifle innovation, and feed the guys at the top at the expense of the workers and the customers. Greedy assholes work in every sector of the economy, public, private, non-profit, wherever there's money to be made. Which greedy assholes run the business doesn't matter. What matters is having a system in place which can regulate fair prices and fair competition, can enforce those regulations successfully, and is accountable to the workers and the customers, so that the greedy assholes can't throw money at the problem to make the regulations go away. We'll never see a perfect system, but right now, it seems like a large democratic nation-state with enough weight to push big businesses around seems to be our best bet. To quote Winston Churchill, democracy is the worst form of government, except all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. The second point is incentives. If a worker is paid the same, whether he or she does a good job or a bad job, the worker will save him or herself a lot of literally worthless effort and go with the lazy option. The modern era of China essentially began in a small village called Shaogang. By the collective farm rules, the party bosses would collect all the grain harvested for the year and distribute whatever they felt like to the farmers in equal shares. No reason to put in any effort that way. But in 1978, the farmers of Shaogang conspired to divide their land into individual plots, send the bosses a small quota, and then sell the rest for themselves at market prices. This resulted in them producing more rice than in the past 5 years combined. By this point, Mao was dead, and Deng Xiaoping was looking for ways to get China out of the famine-ridden slump Mao had left it in, and so he used Zhaogang as a model and allowed private industry to slowly but surely catch on in rural communities. This eventually led to foreign investment and the special economic zones around Hong Kong, which allow for free enterprise, and while there's still a lot of denial and graft and the regulations are clearly lagging behind, China is finally heading for the sort of economy that 1/5 of all humanity should really be entitled to. The only questions now are when they'll finally push the oligarchs out of power and set up some kind of a democracy, and just how bloody that revolution is going to be. Thanks for joining me again in Conspiracy Corner, and I hope I'll see you soon.